Welcome to the Lone Machinist Podcast, the podcast where it's just you, your tools, and the work. No team, no backup. I'm Jamie from JSpec Engineering, and every episode we're tackling the highs and lows of flying solo in the machining world.
And I'm Curt from Confounded Machine, here to chat about everything it takes to make it as a one-man show in the shop. From grinding and turning to the struggles of running a one-person operation, we're sharing the stories, the tricks, and the challenges that come with going it alone.
If you're out there in the shop grinding away by yourself, or just thinking about taking a solo plunge, this show's for you.
So throw in your ear protection and let's talk about life behind the machine.
How are you doing today, Curt?
I'm doing good, man. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing well. So we're recording a bit early because we had a bit of a snafu with material. So it's Sunday evening. Yeah, Sunday evening for me.
Yeah, and Sunday midday for me. So
yeah, nice and
so you're gonna have a nice busy tomorrow.
Mondays. Yeah, so tomorrow morning I've got to get the machine running some stuff that I haven't wanted to do since December. While I wait for material to be delivered, the material was meant to be here on Friday, and my plan was to run it today. Like I had stuff on yesterday. My plan was to set up, run off 500 parts today, and I could get them to heat treat tomorrow. But yeah, now they're going to run tomorrow afternoon and evening. Yeah.
Are those all lathe parts? Or are they mill parts? Or are they kind of a combo of both?
So we used to bandsaw the material to length, and then it used to be mill. Now we cut it to 1/2 meter lengths, run it through the M-code to blank the parts off and chamfer the one side, and then they just go for a single op in the mill. So I used to do 2 ops in the mill to put a chamfer on the backside, and then it was just the quickest way to do it. So now they go into the mill. It takes like 7 minutes to do 10 parts.
Well, so nice, I suppose. Are those long pipes I've seen you pop up in the stores once in a while?
No. This is
some different. Okay.
Yeah, this is torque for for tightening. It's for fences actually. We've got a company locally. They do like it's a wire fence product, and they use a security Torx screw to screw it in. So we make Torx bits with what can only be described as aim assists. So you can't go skew into the screw. You have to come square on. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of, but I make $1 on each one, so I'm happy.
Is that why they don't use like a standard Torx bit, or is this?
It is a standard. So it's a standard Torx bit, but it's extra length. So it's 80 millimeters long. Let's use the Imperializer. 80 millimeters. Millimeter. 3.1496 inches long.
I love that.
So, yeah, that's brilliant. It's got a banana to make it go into inches.
Perfect.
So they're 80 millimeter long Torx, but so they're a bit longer than they could buy from China.
Gotcha.
And they're the security ones. So they were buying them in, and I was putting them in the manual lathe and just drilling a hole in the end. So it could be a security Torx bit. And then I quoted on manufacturing them, and I was manufacturing them for like, I think not even 50 US cents per Torx bit. The material would arrive, and I would run off 1,000 of them in 2 days. And I've crept the price up ever so slightly as I've gone along because I don't actually want to be making them. But it's easy money. Like tomorrow, I'm going to run 500 of them. And now with the aim assist, it's just, I don't have the Imperializer doing rand dollars yet. It's like $2.20 per assembly, including material. So we'll run those off in a day. We can do 500 of those.
Did you say you send them out for hardening, or they just as is?
So the customer actually takes them for hardening. So I buy material. I manufacture 510 usually. I like to overproduce a bit, so when the heat treaters lose parts, it's not a problem. And then they go to heat treat, they get case hardened, and then they come back, and on my little 1-ton arbor press, I put a 1.5 meter cheetah bar, and I press it's literally interference fit. It's a 20 millimeter piece of bright mild steel with an 8.5 hole through it, and then we push that onto an 8 mil hex. So like 2 or so tons of force to put it together, and then I'll assemble 500 of them like in an hour.
And then they just absolutely massacre them because they're ordering hundreds and hundreds from you.
Well, yeah. So I think I know the previous end customer. So obviously the end user is the installer. Then the customer before that is the reseller of the fence products. They were, if you bought 500 screws, you got a free driver kind of store.
Okay.
So they were throwing them in as a value add.
Okay, it's not just one customer just burning through Torx bits. Okay, I gotcha. That makes more sense. I mean,
They've been quiet. I hadn't made them, and since I got the LK, I hadn't made any. So just shy of a year, or probably over a year, I hadn't made any. I was making 1,000 a month for about 2 years.
I remember always seeing those on your stories,
Yeah.
and yeah, like you said, I haven't seen it in a while. So
Yeah, I've probably made 30,000 of them at this point.
wow, that's significant.
Yeah, my poor bandsaw. It used to bandsaw these parts. Danica used to stand there. I put a pneumatic cylinder on the bandsaw so it would automatically lift enough. And then I had a pneumatic cylinder clamping so you could just feed it into the stop and the saw would drop down. Feed into the stop and she would cut 1,000 of them in an afternoon. And then I would run the production over like 2 days.
Yeah, I saw you modding that bandsaw with all this like relatively, like automating. I'm like, why is he doing this? But that makes sense. If you're cutting like tens of thousands or probably thousands of cuts at that point.
Yeah, we did another thing where we made T-nuts effectively with an angled hole. And we were buying 25 by 5 flat bar and cutting it like 10 or 12 millimeters long. And also automated, but we did like 5,000 or 6,000 of those in a very short time span. Like we would cut 700 of them and I would change the bandsaw blade. The blade was still okay. It was just cutting slowly. Put a new blade on it, would go from a new blade was like 15 seconds per cut to like 40 seconds per cut by 700 parts. Just because the blade was getting blunt. So these things, you start to find problems when your quantities start to go up.
Well, mad respect for that little bandsaw. Like that's a lot of work you push through it.
So that when I bought that bandsaw, I bought it. What did I pay for it? I think I paid like $100 for it. The motor mount, it was brand new, but the motor mounts had cracked because it was a cast iron motor mount. And at the time I had a plasma cutter. So I'm like, cool, good deal. Laser or plasma cutter motor mount. Got it running. And then the whole frame of it was doing this every time the wheels rotated because the wheels were out of round by like 1/8 of an inch. So I held them on their bearing, on the bearing seat and I skimmed them to be true. And then that thing ran. I killed the brass gear in it on one of the production jobs. All of a sudden, bandsaw stops. Open it up, whole lot of brass looking oil, pulled the gear up, there's no teeth left. So I phoned our local guys, Ardendorf, it's like Harbor Freight or Princess Order, like one of those kind of stores that the saw's from. Phoned their head office. I'm like, hey, have you got spares? They're like, yeah, no, we got this thing. Sent my missus, go buy one now. So she went off and bought it. The bandsaw was running an hour later.
Wow.
But that thing has cut so many pieces of material. It's insane.
I love that. Like I have one of those. I bought, I don't know, a couple of years ago.
You've got
a Portaband.
Yeah, I bought one recently.
I just needed it for like just knocking up some titanium pieces because I'm tired of like throwing them in the lathe to part them or like using a hacksaw at the worst case. I'm like, this will be just my I've used that thing for like a couple of years now and it just goes through blades and I just keep putting new blades on it and smiles every day and just keeps cutting. All right.
No, I bought a battery operated one. Yeah, no, they well. There was, but I think mine was about $350. I bought it in like July last year. I bought a battery powered one because the guys deliver material into my driveway. But now to use the bandsaw, I've got to see that. Yeah, I've got to wheel it out and around, pick up a 6 meter length of material and chop it. It's like, no. So I bought a Portaband in the driveway, mark a meter, chop it, mark another meter, chop it, that I can break the material down in the driveway as I need it. And that's just me being lazy, but I've always wanted one. Like I've wanted one of those for the last probably decade and they are not available here. You don't find them. It's like a Sawzall. You don't find a Sawzall here.
Oh, really?
No, they're not a thing in South Africa. Like you will not find one readily. My one friend has one. They were doing it was a really big I-beam, like steel construction job. Angle grinder trying to cut. His mate comes over with the Sawzall, zips through the corners. He's like, this is unlocked a cheat mode. But no one has them here. They're really not super common.
Wow, you can get them at like 7-Eleven up here. They're everywhere. I bet you I'll find one on the side of the road walking around tonight. Like everybody has one, and they're all just clapped out, but they last for a billion years because they're just demolishing tools.
No, they are really, really sweet tools. Yeah, we don't get them. Like I actually went so because the material didn't arrive. I was like, okay, I am still going to do something productive today. So I went and bought a whole lot of storage, like tote things, so I could put all of my dead tree fondling stuff into one and my welding stuff into another because I don't generally play with dead trees and I'm not a fabrication shop. And like my welder sits in the way with my TIG torch in the way, my helmet's in the way. So I bought a box, threw it all in the box. It's now under the workbench, out of the way. Like, it's there if I need it, but it's not in my way because I'm trying to clean the workshop up. It's not an easy task.
I'm with you. I have a bunch of boxes behind me. That same thing I do. I'd fill it with like stuff. I'm like, I'm not going to use jack stands for a vehicle. Like, let's put them in there. They're out of my, like, I hate visual clutter. So like, if I move it out of my way, I'm like, I can think so much better.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying now to get a handle on organizing the workshop. It's not easy. Last year, this time, I had 2 skips delivered. Well, I had one delivered, filled it, and had another one delivered. And I just turfed stuff. I had stuff in there. My father-in-law's been dead for like 15 years. I'm turfing his shit. I'm like, I don't need it. Like old tins of paint, don't need it. I kept 1 or 2 that were relevant. Everything else, out. Like now my brother-in-law, his jack is here. I'm like, hey, bro, come fetch this thing. Fetch it or it's going on the side of the road. Like, I don't want it because it's taking up valuable real estate.
Oh yeah, there's tons of stuff. Like that's one of my favorite things to do. Like when we moved into this place, same thing. We rented a big dumpster, parked it in the garage, and it's amazing the amount of trash we just had. It's like, okay, some of this we can give away, some of this we can donate, whatever.
Yeah.
Most of it's just like, how did we have this? Like, why are we storing this? We don't need this. And it's just,
I stayed in a 50 square meter flat. We filled up like the wheelie bins. We filled up like 8 of them when we moved out of there.
Oh, wow.
It was a 50 square meter flat. Okay, I built a CNC machine in there, but not the point.
No, totally.
No, like, I mean, I've got stuff sitting downstairs. I've got a jeweler's lathe that is a family heirloom that was handed down to me by my uncle when he died. It's like, I have no use for it, but I'm not going to get rid of it. I've got a box of tools and things of my dad's, dead tree fondling stuff. I used one of the chisels the other day. Danica was doing bookbinding, so I was helping her, just like, have a chisel. I'm never, ever going to use it as a wood chisel. I actually went to my neighbor across the road, got him to sharpen it to give it a decent edge because he does knife making. So he was on on a Sunday. So I'm like, hey, just put an edge on this for me because I'm really not equipped to do so. But like, I've got all that stuff that just, it doesn't need to be in the workspace.
And I know we briefly talked about it last week as my CNC router. It sat up here for a year and I just used it as a table. And now it's downstairs in kind of my big sandblasting room, but it's like, I don't have the heart to like throw it out because it works really well if I need it, but I'm not going to use it. So it's just, what do I do with this?
That's what I did last year. I had the machine from before the Slowio, the other one I built in my flat, the little router. And I mean, that thing made a couple thousand pieces of aluminium. Like I was getting an aluminium extrusion in, dropping a 6mm end mill into it at like 3 meters a minute. It was absolutely silly, the stuff I was doing on there. But it was no longer a necessary part of my workflow once the LK arrived. And it sat there and sat there. And the customer that I was doing the alley work for, the last batch I did on the LK, it was just easier. And then I said to my mate Roger, I'm like, hey, bro, come fetch. Pay me when you've got money. Just come take it away. Pay me what you think it's worth and give me money when you have spare money. Like, I just need it not in my space right now. So he's now got it. He's got one of those little Roland routers, which he's done amazing work on that wet noodle. Like, that little router of mine was a wet noodle. This thing is like, I don't even know. It's like silly string, his little router. That thing is, it's stupid. But he's done some amazing stuff with it being as noodly as it is.
Yeah, well, like, even that router it's a Momus router. If anybody's curious, you can look it up. They sell plans. It's actually a stout little router for its design. And I built a bunch of, like, I did brass engraving on a ton of my pens at the start. But I think the last thing I did with it is I had a pen with a click cap. And I just used it to like click a cap on and off a pen, like as a motion system. And I clicked it like thousands of times. Yeah, that's the last thing it ever did. Sorry, it did machine a heatsink for the big lathe. But like I just don't use it. I'm like, if I'm going to use it, I'm just going to run it one of the mills. Like, and I don't do any woodworking, so I'm like, it's just taking up space.
Yeah. No, that's this little router of mine was used for cross drilling holes on those tubes that I made. The previous version had pop rivets, so I was using it with the 4th axis to put 6 holes in it. And it did that on like a few thousand parts, but then I changed the design and we started swaging them together. So all of a sudden the machine became redundant and just eating up space that can be used for something else. Like, it's sad to see it go, but it's going to a better place where it's going to be appreciated. Because running stuff, I don't even run the Slowio because it's just easier to get good parts off of the LK.
Yeah, and I feel that's what's going to happen with my little Grizzly just sitting here. It's like, okay, I'm probably not going to run a ton on it, especially once I get the fourth axis running on the Sile here. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's not going to have a ton. Right now, its only job is fourth axis work, but like in a few more weeks, I don't think it's going to do that. I mean, I'll probably just keep it here just as a backup, like you said, but
Yeah.
even for prototyping, I'm like, you know what? I thought I was going to use it for prototyping, but I think I'm just going to go prototyping on the big machine because it's just so much faster and everything is tooled up for it and like,
Yeah.
just convenient. Plus tool changer,
No,
that's life changing.
Tool changer is totally life changing. Like, yeah, I did a tough little job. I didn't want to put it in the LK because it's resin and paper. So I ended up running that in the slow and it did a friggin' bang up job, but I had to manually change to a drill bit, and that was a bit unpleasant. I actually need to rerun the part. I lost it. I was washing the part. I washed it, was sanding it with a sanding sponge, and it shot out of my hand and is gone into the ether. I've pulled tables out. I've cleaned out under tables. I cannot find this part. So I've got to chop another piece of machine, another one at some point. For the guy, like, they don't need it right now. They'll only need it in like 3 or 4 weeks because they're waiting on the lens to come in from England for the assembly. So I'm like,
Okay.
Yeah, no rush. But yeah, yes, I got a phone call regarding those camera parts that I did. Oh, no, good phone call.
Oh, good phone call. Okay, good.
Oh, the guy's like, this is amazing. Like, look, the chamfer, it goes up to the edge. I'm like, yes, that's how it was modeled. And it was modeled stupidly.
Okay, awesome.
I pick up the phone. I'm like, hey, Raj, fix it. So no, they are blown away by the machining on that. I'm like, it's so. Could have been a bit better, but I wasn't going to make 3 of everything to dial it in perfectly. Like,
Right.
Once the whole assembly is tested, there's another 3 of them in the works.
So, do you have 3 more to make for that?
Yeah,
yet?
3 more full sets of everything to make once they have assembled the first one and tested it.
Oh, nice. Well, that's awesome that they're happy with it because that looked like a pretty decent job.
It was lots of fun. Like, probably going to put the price up just a little bit. But now, again, running 3 of them as opposed to running 1 of them, all the programming is done. Like, I'm pushing very hard for a design freeze. Unless there's something catastrophically wrong, they mustn't change that model at all because it's all programmed and ready to go.
Yeah,
like, if they want the same price, don't mess with it. So
this is where it works out. Yeah.
My friend phoned me to just make sure our model's tie up. He's like, what did you change? Because I tweaked a few things where you had like missed holes, put the wrong size, things like that. Because I'm looking at how it's being assembled and making sure all the bits are going to go together, just giving that second set of eyes. And he phoned me I was actually about to go into a meeting when he phoned me just to check what I had changed, that everything between our 2 sets of models all tied up properly.
Yeah, that's the hot tip, kids. Design for manufacturing. It's an important thing.
Or speak to somebody who can help you design. Like, I had a discussion with Roger. He's like, he's designing these things. He's an industrial designer. And we had a chat a while ago. I'm like, okay, anything you send me, 3.2 corner radius. Because then I can drop in with a 6mm cutter. Or 2.1, I can drop in with a 4mm cutter. Don't come with some arbitrary little stupid size. I mean, I had a job that had 0.5mm fillets on things. So now I've got to run a 1mm ball nose just to hit your stupid little fillet. So I ended up having to surface the whole part so there were no blend lines.
In CAD software, the like fillet all button you should have to pay like $1,000 every time you click that. It's the worst button that exists.
Have you seen the Adam Demuth video?
Calling
it the most expensive button in CAD, and it is.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
No, I had so my friend Dave, he designs drones for a living. Well, kind of. He built out a really, really good craft, and then he's also he was a one-man show. Ran into the situation he couldn't sell the craft because no one would buy it because he was a one-man show, and he couldn't grow because he couldn't sell the craft because he was a one-man show. So he ended up scrapping it, and going and getting a job as an engineer. And now he's building the version 2. And he sent me files, and I sent him a message like, you do know I don't have a 5-axis, right? Yet.
No.
He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, dude, this part requires 7 operations. Simplify.
Yeah.
Like, take your dumb fillets out of this thing. Like, a stress riser on that is not going to cause a break. We know we're near the material limits. Just put a flipping square corner. And then he changed his design, optimized for manufacturing. But also he knows what I want if he wants me to manufacture it. Like, he's designing a heatsink. Everything is designed to be run with a 3mm cutter because he knows I can run that. And if he goes to allowing me to run a 4mm cutter, price drops because I can run it nearly twice as fast.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
rigidity is everything. And he understands that at least. Like, I've had some guys like, that's the way it's drawn, that's the way it must be. I'm like, here's your price, friend.
Right. Exactly. Okay, you're gonna pay for it then. Yeah. That seems super common.
Yeah, I had a customer come and drop a part off. It's a pattern for sand casting for a foundry cast wheel. So this is the master. They want their logo engraved. So they send the drawing through. I've looked, I'm like, hey, bro, this thing's got a 0.4 radius. It's getting a 0.5 ball nose in there because that's what I have in my drawer. No, that'll be fine. Then I'm like, listen, where they want this, there's a bolt. So I took a picture, sent it to them, said, please find out. This is super urgent. 2 days later, I get a new drawing. No, now it's a 0.5 millimeter deep deboss. So drop the profile down. So I have a look and 0.7 clearance between letters. I don't have a 0.7 end mill. That's a stupid bloody size. So I modified it for them and made it so the 1 mil end mill would fit. And then I let it run and went up the road and had a couple beers while my machine ran for an hour. Came back, rotated the part, probed it, let it run while I went to bed. Because it went from being a 5-minute job to being a 2-hour job. It was an hour per little pocket. Like, I can only go so fast with a 1 millimeter end mill. And I had to stick it out an inch from the collet anyway because I had to clear into the pocket. Like, yeah. But that oak's going to get the bill and he'll just pass it on so he doesn't really care. Like,
yeah, well,
if he has a problem, then yeah.
That's
I said to him when he was here. Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay, so he was here dropping the thing off, and I'm like, no. My policy this year is, here's the price, there's the gate, pick one. Like, that is it.
Yeah.
There's no negotiation. You either want the work or you don't. The work comes with a certain quality usually, and that's what you're paying for. You're not necessarily paying for the cheapest part. And yeah, because he's got himself in a bit of trouble where he's taking on super low margin work, super weird stuff, and it's eating up all of his time. So he's not able to actually get to the work he's meant to be getting to. And his staff, they knock off at 4:30. Like, they don't own the business. 4:30, they leave. And if he's not there to do the higher level stuff, nothing gets done. Like, if he's not there to chase them, then nothing gets done. So yeah, I told him about that. I'm like, you need to say no. Like, that is the most powerful thing you can do, is say no to the dumb stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
And also say no to the smart stuff.
Well, and I think that's the one thing that pushed me so hard to want to just build my own products, is because the only person that I have to say no to is me. And most of the time it's should I do that? And then, I mean, I'm lucky in a world that I can live where it's a luxury good. So if I want to take a ball and mill and chamfer something and it takes, 30 times longer than just running a chamfer mill, people are like, yeah, it looks pretty. I'll pay for pretty. It's okay, cool. But the job shop world, I mean, even my old job, we did a bunch of that stuff too. And it's well, I could do a nice roughing cut on this and a nice finishing cut and make you a beautiful part. And it's it's going into a, blank industrial machine. It's we don't care. Just make it so. It's oh, okay. Well, I get that too.
Yeah. Make it so it fits. We don't care what it looks like.
Precisely. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I do a lot of that where if it's the right size, we don't care what it really looks like. I like to make nice finishes, but if the customer doesn't require it, don't do it. It's just putting extra time and money in that doesn't need to be put in. Because I do a bunch of stuff. The guy's like, oh, it's so pretty. It's a rivet. I'm like, yeah, something's rotating on it. I want it to be smooth. Because if it's not smooth, it's going to wear your other part out. But I look at some of the work these guys turn out. Sure, it's on size, but I can literally see the valleys because they're feeding at 0.2 to get a surface finish. Hang on, 0.2.
Right, yeah.
Imperializer. They're going at 80 thou per rev. Sorry, 8 thou per rev.
Yeah, chunking away material pretty quick, yeah.
Yeah, they're not interested in getting a super smooth surface finish. I'm like, I want it to be nice and pretty and shiny.
Yeah, well, that was the fun thing about all my DMs when I was posting pictures of how I want to machine my own Torx. And I think they're T8, I think. So fairly tiny Torx, and or maybe T6, I can't remember. Anyways,
Oh, geez.
Tons of people, like all the machinists are like, broach it. Just like, why are you machining that? Broach it. And everybody in like the other community, like the like high end knife community, whatever, they're like, oh yeah, of course, use ball mills, make it all pretty. Cause like
Yeah.
it's people will look at it under a microscope and be like, oh cool, it's got neat patterns on the bottom, where it's like, yeah, if you're making that for whatever, a plastic electronics case, people are like, I don't care, broach it, make me screws. But like,
Yeah. But you want it
it's
to be pretty. Also, you could get really, really into it and align all your threads. So all your hexes all get dressed when you tighten them. Or you've only got one on
oh
the thing. But yeah.
oh yeah, but that's what it's gonna like. That's what I want. I mean, hex is pretty
Yeah.
good. You got 6 chances to make it line
Yeah.
up. But exactly, why not? Like that's the dumb stuff I love
Exactly.
doing. It's like, okay, let's
Oh,
clock
yeah.
this. Like, why not?
I get super frustrated looking at things out in the wild and screws aren't clocked. I'm like, guys, this isn't that much more effort and it's going to look like 20 times better. Like, even on high end
Oh,
furniture, you see the stuff, you're
mm-hmm.
like, guys, why aren't the screws clocked? Like, it just come on. Like,
Yeah,
it's not
the
hard.
as a Studley tool chest, that big woodworking guy. I think he's a organist, organ piano, organ tuner. I don't know.
Okay.
He
Yeah.
built one of this absolutely beautiful tool chest. And same thing, it's all flat heads, which that's a different story.
Ugh.
But they're all clocked. They're all like
Yep.
perfectly in line. Like, that pleases me. Or I go into someone's
Oh,
house
yeah.
and I see all their light switch screws are clocked. It's like, someone cared when they did this.
Well, yeah, my dad was a boat builder and you dressed all your screws. They called it dressing. You dress all your screws so they all face the same direction because
Right.
it looks proper. Like that little bit of extra effort, it
Mhm.
looks the way. Yeah, I don't know. I'm pedantic about really dumb stuff like that.
100, same man, 100%.
Yeah,
And it's wood. Like you can clock a screw in wood pretty easy.
exactly.
Just
Yeah,
push
you're
a
not
little
going to
harder,
break
it's
it
fine.
off. Yeah,
Right.
you know. And even if you loosen it, just wait till the seasons change. And the wood
Yeah.
will be tight again. Like, yeah, no, playing with wood is not a fun experience. That stuff's all
Yeah.
over the show.
If it wasn't so dusty, I'd be more into it. But I finally got this place like dust free, and now it's like anytime I have to come in here and like cut something with wood, I'm like, oh, I'll just do it outside. Like it's cold outside, I'll do it outside. I just don't want dust in here.
Yeah, I run into big issues with leaves in my workshop because I
Yeah.
still haven't, because it's not cold, I don't need to put a little like seal on the bottom of my door or on the top of my door.
Uh-oh.
So as soon as we get a windy patch, it just blows straight under the door, right under the machine, and then sweeping and vacuuming it out. It's one of the frustrations I have. But the dust up in Joburg is something else, eh? Like where I used to, when I moved up here, I'd wipe the top of the toilet, like of the cistern. You would turn around, walk out the room, walk back in, and it's covered in dust. Because we've got all the old mine dumps here. So there's a hell of a lot of dust in the air. Like everything is perpetually covered in dust.
Do you get like a ton of rain there, or is it like fairly dry? Or
It's been a dry year. We had
Yeah.
2 weeks where it just rained constantly. This is our rainy season now. We should be getting rain like every afternoon, but
Okay.
the last week or so it hasn't rained. My aquaponic
Okay.
system's looking a bit low. As I drained it, I opened the valve and then something got stuck in the main drain valve, so I ended up dumping out like half the water by accident. And now I'm waiting for it to rain. It fills up in like 20 minutes if it rains, but we just haven't
Nice.
had any rain. But yeah, no, generally summer's wet here. Winter is so dry. Like our grass it's brown. You have a dirt patch. Like straight up just a dirt patch. And then as soon as we get our first rain, it's green again.
Oh, okay. I know I saw some pictures of your like I'm assuming backyard or whatnot. I'm like, oh, that's way more lush than I thought it would be. Like I thought.
Oh yeah, when I was sitting in the
pretty
jungle, yeah.
parched. Yeah.
My garden service didn't pitch up for a month. So it got a little overgrown. And I literally don't have a lawnmower because I pay someone to mow my lawn because Africa.
Sure. Yeah.
And then, they took a month off. So it got, some of the stuff was like 2 foot high. It was silly. It took them like 4 hours. Normally they're in and out of here in about 40 minutes, 2.5 hours to mow the lawn. They'd push the mower like a foot forward, back up so I could get revs up again, then push it. Back up so I could get revs, push it. It was great. I was having the best time watching them. I'm like, this is what you get for taking a month off. Like, you guys can suffer
Did you go
now.
attack? So I got to attack it with like a big scythe or something.
Yeah, jeez. No, and then their lawnmower broke. They were here today. They normally come on Thursdays, but for some reason they came on a Sunday because they're trying to catch up. And then their lawnmower broke, and the guy's got a weed whacker in the middle of my lawn. I'm like, dude, just leave it for next week when your mower's working. Please don't stuff my grass up because they'll mow it to the dirt, and then it's struggling for another year. But,
So weird. I'm looking out my window. I got like 2 feet of snow, and you have 2 feet of grass. Just like
Yeah.
It's cool. It's wild.
I don't understand how you guys live where it's that cold.
I don't either, man. I have the full autonomy to move wherever I want. I don't know why I stay here. At least it keeps the big snakes away.
Yeah, fair enough. We don't actually have. Yeah, I've had 1 or 2 encounters, but nothing in I think I saw a house snake in the yard 2 or 3 years ago. That little brown house snake, and then I have seen. Other than that, I've seen 1 snake in the what's it now? In the 13 years I've been in Johannesburg, and that was when I was flying a plane out in a field on a Sunday morning, and lost orientation and had an aggressive landing, and running through the field to go find my plane. And all of a sudden, Runkos, which is kind of like a cobra type effort, but this thing was long, like 1.5 meters, 2 meters long. I went into the air and ran like a cartoon character in the air, hit the ground at full sprint, and ran away to fetch my airplane and came back along the road. That's the only encounter I've really had with the wildlife here. It's pretty tame. Although one of the guys I used to fly with was saying he was driving down the road, thought he saw a pole on the side of the road. So he stopped, reversed to go pick up this pole. It wasn't a pole. It was a snake.
Oh. No, dude.
In that same field where we used to fly.
Well, I think that's the thing that roped both of you and me. Well, maybe not you, but I know for me for sure, roped me into machining was RC, like planes, helis, quads, all that stuff. Like that's what really started to sink me into machining. It's just like, okay, I broke this. Now I want to make a new one. It's like, well, I could make a new one if I had a blank. And then it seems like anybody that gets involved in that hobby. Yeah.
So RC Explorer, here's the reason I programmed CNC machines, because I wanted to cut a tricopter frame.
All right on.
Yeah. So I started with tricopters, and then tricopters and model planes and boats, and then moved on to quadcopters, and then drone racing when it became a thing in the beginning. I was cutting my own frames. My mate Dave ran Friday FPV. He was making his frames. He was making his carbon, making the frames, and then he started getting stuff cut in China because he just couldn't compete on price. But I mean, his drone, you could drive over it with a car, over the main, really clever design. I mean, he's got pictures of him stuck into trees. We were racing and literally pegged it into a tree. You go break it out the tree and carry on flying.
Wow.
His car's got a few dings from guys trying to fly through his windows. The 2 windows open and guys trying to fly through.
That world has been just like the 3D printing world is just how fast it advanced. Like going from same thing, tricopters where you were just using like rate gyros and mixing them with like swash mixing, and now like to just crazy I
remember when the KK2 came out. That thing was awesome. I mean,
100%.
My mate still got his drone that's got a KK2 on it. I built him a drone in like 2014. It's with him in England now. I think he flew it he's flown it like 4 times since. And then the Nays came out, and it evolved so quickly, and I literally couldn't afford to keep up with the competition stuff. Guys were spending like $1,000, $2,000 a month buying the latest everything so they could be competitive. And then I dropped out. I got back into it, but then the guys I was flying with were being irresponsible. They were diving buildings and things like that. And I'm like, dude, I wouldn't trust you to hover above me. Never mind dive a building and trust that your drone would pull out at the bottom. Like, come on.
I know. I was the same way. I got up to I have a Nays 32 in one of my quads, and I got some fat shark goggles, and I'm like, you know what? I'm happy here. I go to the field beside my house. I buzz the trees around, just kind of freestyle a little bit there. That's all I want to do. Competing.
I've still got my 3-inch quad. That's the only one that's still running, and I rip around the yard once every 2 years. I'll go get my remote. My neighbor's kids got my remote. It's still got it all linked up. And then I'll turn it on and I'll go buzz their palm tree and zoom around a bit for 2 minutes and then land. But on that note, we had a robot tournament yesterday.
Oh, nice. At your ant weights?
Yes. Fairy weights. So depends where you, US ant weight is 1 pound. Everywhere else ant weight is 150 grams. So technically it is an ant weight class. No, freaking small. So we had our non-destructive and our destructive tournament run, and I ran my winning robot Groper in the non-destructive, and I ran Froggo in the destructive, and Froggo got dismantled.
Oh no!
Titanium armor ripped off the back, motor mount shattered. Like, it was whoever got the first good hit was going to win the match. We both knew it going in, and I got unlucky. My weapon was unbalanced, and I just didn't have enough control. So I ended up tapping out. And then in the non-destructive, I just walked through the tournaments again. I was actually a bit mean to a kid. So the one kid, he hasn't touched his robot since October last year, I think.
Okay.
And came to the tournament and walked through with 2 robots. He absolutely destroyed everyone. And then he ran into me with his 1 robot. And I fought him in December with this robot. And it was a bit touch and go. So I was just a total dick. I smothered him the whole fight. The match started. Nice. I was just on him and just smothered him until I could get a grip and throw him. And then that was in the semifinals. He had already got into the finals with his other robot. So I got to fight him again. And when I fought him again, same story. Just put the pressure on until he made a driving mistake. And then he drove himself into the pit so that I could win. It was quite nice.
Nice. Grown man just making a child weep.
100%. So that is actually something, Danik and I were discussing this. The whole thing with the league is, you're a child. You win because you're good, not because you're a child. And that is something
totally.
Yeah, we focused on that in the league. It's you don't win just because you're a child and you're attending. You either be good or you don't win. And I want to retire this robot because it's overpowered.
No, it's a way to. I mean that's respectful. I would say, like, if you downplay yourself, you're solving no issues. You're like
exactly.
Yeah,
and
I agree with
like
that.
after the match, handshake, well done. That was a good fight. Like you had me going for a bit, and that's what it is. It's a fair fight every fight.
Absolutely.
The guys are super helpful with everybody. We had a couple of new guys join, but that also the machining stuff. My new robot after Froggo got destroyed, my new robot's going to have a billet alley core.
Yeah, I'm staying far away from battle robots because that's the thing. Is once you have all the tools, I'm like, okay, I got lathes, I got mills, like I can build any part I would want. I have knowledge in RC, like that's all I want to do is build giant robots. But I'm like, you know what? I gotta pick my hobbies. I just end up turning them into businesses.
So the thing is, like, we started this when we weren't super busy. And since we started the league, we've gotten a hell of a lot busier. So, like, generally speaking, if we have a tournament on a Saturday, from about Thursday afternoon, like, I'll start looking at what I'm going to do for the tournament. Either put what I have on charge or build an entirely new robot on the Friday. So I'll design it on Thursday night, build it Friday, compete Saturday. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the guys work on their robots for weeks and then come and finish building them at the tournament.
Okay,
I was soldering guys' robots together for them at the tournament.
Yeah, it was great fun. Too many interesting things in the world. Just between electronics and robots and telescopes and
I have way too many hobbies.
Same, man. Same.
It's a bit of a problem. But like, there's very few where I can actually go and switch my brain off, and one of them is fishing. So when I get a chance, I go fishing because then I'm focusing on fishing. I'm not focusing on anything else.
Yeah, when I think that's anybody. Yeah. Anybody that runs kind of their own jig, they're same thing. You get so passionate and involved in it, just you can't turn it off. Like I can't turn my machining brain off. Like there's very few activities where I'm like, oh, I'm not thinking about. I bet you I could do that, but blah 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 blah. It's like it's hard to find them.
No, 100%. If you can find a hobby that does that, that's critical because it's a way to just turn the brain off. Because I mean, my brain, it doesn't turn off. I'm forever thinking about how I can optimize this, how I can optimize that. What about trying this? There's always something you thinking about.
Totally. Yeah. I know last summer I got into skateboarding again because like when I was little, I never learned how to do a kickflip. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to learn how to do a kickflip. And that's like the one thing where I'm like, if I'm skateboarding, like I can't think of anything else because you're like,
no.
To me, it's like a lot. It's a lot of focus for me anyways. And, but yeah, it's other than that, it's like everything else is just like, you're always a little picture in your brain of thinking of something else or just like.
Yeah, even watching TV, you're thinking about how you can make something better, something easier. Like, forever. Like, the whole robot in my CNC machine plan has changed a little bit.
Oh yeah, you're like your part material loader.
Yep. I was going to build a Scara arm, and then it dawned on. Yeah, I know they're really sweet, but then it dawned on me: why don't I just make an XY gantry with a gripper that pivots? So I just grip station, pivot away, drop down, come over, pivot to where I need to put it in the chuck, and then pivots it back in. So 3-axis machine, super easy, relatively easy to build. So that's.
Have you seen
the new?
I'm assuming you've seen like Haas's application for their new material loader or vice loader or whatever it is.
Yeah, I have seen it.
Yeah,
I'm not the biggest fan of it. I want mine to be in the machine, like in the enclosure of the machine. Obviously, I'll segment it off. I've got so much wasted space in my enclosure, I may as well use it. Like, I'll take the door off and put the robot in, so I can load through where the door was, and then have a separate cover that the robot literally drops down below and then loads it onto my vase. That way I'm not too worried about like chip management and stuff.
If you haven't checked it out, I think it's Warner Barry on YouTube. BarryBot. He built like a big Delta printer back in the day, but he has a beautiful Tormach. He's a beautiful basement workshop. But he had a Tormach and I think it's who makes the arm? It's just an open source arm made by another YouTuber. Fantastic design.
Yeah, is it the AR3 or 4 or something? Yeah,
the AR3. Anyways, he built one of these and has it on like a little gantry that shifts back and forth. And I guess he was machining these Delrin parts, but like he has videos of it picking up these parts off like a stack and putting it in the machine, and the door closing on the Tormach, and then like machining this part. It's like, that is so pretty.
Yeah, the issue there is like you've got to be doing such high quantity to justify that.
Absolutely.
So like I had to go drop off tubes this week. So actually, wait, hang on. Before we go into stories, let's get back on topic. So, okay, we're going to go into what we've been up to this last week. So I'll start us off because I was starting a story, but I figured let's get us on topic. I went to go deliver those tubes I was making that Danica ran for me on Monday. Yeah. Got those all assembled, and I want to build a power pack for that, but that's a story for another day. Went to deliver and spoke to the guys about all the other projects that we've got on the go, because I'm busy with a design project with them for a container tracking unit. And then we're busy, that is now in front of the sensor that they want to build, and I'm making the sensor housings. So they're like, nah, that'll only be end of February, maybe beginning of March. And then they are releasing their one product, but they want to install 100 units before the product release, so that when they go try to sell it and the customer says, oh, who's running this? They can say, oh, no, there's 100 units here, or there's 50 units there and 50 units there. People are using it. It's been tested kind of story. So I had another look at my fixturing for that. And turns out I can fit in. So I had a little bit of the parts moving because I had a single Uniforce clamp with an M4 bolt. And it wasn't quite enough holding force. So when I pocketed the one side, the part tilted. And I noticed that when I was tumbling them, and it doesn't matter for the application, but I want it to be right. Turns out Mighty Bots sell things in packs of 8. I need 10. So I don't have enough.
No, of course.
So I've got now I'm going to spend another $100 on another pack of Mighty Bots just so that I can get another 2 of the things. But luckily, my fixture that runs 10 parts at a time, I can just pocket out and put more holes, and I can run 2 clamps on each one. So that at least, and for 100 parts, it's, I'll just run it. It's going to take me 2 hours to run off all the parts.
So you can just use your existing fixture, but just modify it a little bit to work. Okay, that's nice.
Yeah, so I'll tweak the design, and then I bought a tool this evening, actually. I sent off a RFQ to one of the local guys, got a quote back at like 7 o'clock on a Sunday night. So I paid them, and it'll arrive tomorrow afternoon. Ordered a VCGT holder, so a neutral holder, so I can reach everywhere I need on the part. And I want to try and do it in 2 passes, not like 17 passes, because I need to cut cycle time on these, like something silly. They're taking, I think, 4 minutes apart. They need to be down in the 1 to 1.5 minute area if I plan on being cost effective on them. Like, especially if we need to make 1,000 of them, I can't have it taking multiple minutes per part for a part that's going to get tumbled. So I'm trying to just dial in my process. And then during the week, I went and picked up 800 parts from powder coating and had a chat to them, because I got a quote to anodize these parts, and the guys wanted to charge me just under $1 racking fee per part, and there just straight up isn't budget for it. So I spoke to the powder coaters, and they were like, no, they build it in. So I'm waiting for a quote. I should get it tomorrow. And I was like, no, I'll supply racking. That way the parts can screw on. I control where all the racking marks are. And they're like, oh, no, that's fine. I'm like, cool. I'll supply 100 racks for my 100 assemblies for now. And then it'll come back black powder coated, and I'll throw it in the laser and laser off the powder coat to put all their branding on. Because then one of their concerns was the unit's black, then it's got the silver thing. Aesthetically, it doesn't really match. So
Mhm.
they were asking what options they've got. So I was like, no, we can probably powder coat them and do it cost effectively, because I think we're going to be in for like 50 US cents to powder coat these 3 parts. I can't see it being
Are you
super expensive.
are you lasering it with your CO2 or with your little fiber there?
I'll do it with the fiber. It's way faster.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I tried to fiber laser the keys for the Imperializer, but I got bored and annoyed, so I just printed them on paper and put them under the caps.
Oh, nice.
Like I was trying to dial it in, but the ABS was melting, and then it was skew. And I was like, you know
Hmm.
what? Let me just print this. These things have clear caps. Cut them out and cap them.
Nice.
But yeah, what did you get up to this week? Oh, other than the fancy green. That green looks
Oh,
amazing.
thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
green is always highly, highly requested. Tons of people request it. No one does titanium in green because it'll make you want to walk off a bridge. It's just so sensitive to absolutely like. And I'm a fairly like particular. We'll use that word. That's polite. I'm a very particular person when it comes to things, and like I am crazy particular about cleaning and prep for titanium anodizing because that's the only thing that makes difference. I mean, pretty much for any kind of finishing, like prep work is the key work, and yeah, to get titanium clean enough to get like a clean, repeatable green has just been the bane of my existence. Anyways, finally nailed it, so I'm super happy about that. So I was able to punch those in the batch, which will be coming out. Actually, it might be depends how fast we upload this episode, but it'll probably be. It's Wednesday this week, is when the batch is dropping. So I do everything by a lottery, and then after 24 hours, it goes to first come first serve on my website. So usually they sell out fairly quickly. But anyways, yeah, the green are going to go quick, I think, because
And
that was a fun one to do.
what is that website for anyone who doesn't know?
Oh, it's confoundedmachine.com. Yes, thank you kindly.
No worries.
So yeah, that's what I've been up to, and then just a crap ton of entropic anodizing, which is like that kind of spirally blue crazy anodizing, which is
I chatted to you about that.
Tedious.
I chatted to you about that a while ago. I've got a tub of ferrochloride for doing that. I did it once or twice and just never went back to actually doing it. No,
Yeah.
I actually have questions about your cleaning process for anodizing. If you
Yeah.
don't mind sharing some of this stuff.
No,
What
yeah,
is your
of course.
process for titanium?
So for titanium, my favorite, the one I like the most right now is I take most, and I have to go like extra bad because my lathe is oil, and oil is just so much harder to get off parts than coolant. So I take it out and I put it into a tank of I use Alkanox, but Alkanox is just a alkaline cleaner. So you can if you search alkaline cleaner, there's all kinds of sources. I think you have I know Stefan Gottsvinter. I can never pronounce his name.
Yes, let's butcher his name. That's what we all do.
Yeah, no kidding.
On the internet,
Stefan G.
Yes.
he turned me on to like alkaline cleaners for removing oil because he said they're just so fantastic. And I found Alkanox, which is kind of a laboratory grade cleaner. It's fantastic. I can get it here. It's relatively expensive, but it works so well. Like it cuts through oil amazingly well. So I run one ultrasonic tank of hot Alkanox to knock all the oil off. And then once I do a rough clean, it goes into another ultrasonic tank with kind of like a fine cleaning solution of Alkanox again. And then it goes into another ultrasonic tank of just hot distilled water, just so that when they dry, there's 0 water spots. And then basically after that, it's good for most anodizing. And to hit like green anodizing, that's when I just kind of go crazy, and just basically a bunch of manual cleaning that I have to do with degreasers to get into all the little crannies that ultrasonic just for some reason. I think if I had a higher quality ultrasonic, like a Crest unit or something like that, it would probably just do it in tank, but I just don't have the wattage, I think, to shake the part well enough to get all the oil off it. So it's just manual cleaning, which is tedious, but it's the only way I found to make it work.
Yeah, it's okay. No, interesting. Because for anodizing aluminium, I was having random stuff. I've actually got parts now that need to get binned. Turns out when you Scotch-Brite this specific batch, I get spots in my anodize. Can't figure it out. The only thing I can tie it down to is the Scotch-Brite wheel or this batch of aluminium, one of the two. Because I Scotch-Brite all of my mag bases that I anodize, but this specific batch of CZPO7 bases, every single one gets white spots. And I don't know.
You Scotch-Brite and then you go through your cleaning still?
Then I still go through. So it gets Scotch-Brite, gets blown off, goes into an acetone bath to break down any oil. Then it goes into, it then gets hand scrubbed with simple green, or it's clean green here, at 40 degrees. Then from there it gets rinsed with RO water, reverse osmosis, with a little hose. I wash it with
Mhm.
quite high pressure. Then it gets etched in caustic soda.
Mhm.
Then it gets rinsed, put back in the hot clean green, gets soaked for a minute, then gets rinsed again, and then ends up in the acid tank. And it
Mm.
works flawlessly for everything else. Just
Mhm.
this batch of parts, I get white spots. So
Weird.
the only thing I can think is it's the aluminium itself that's got
That's
something
potential.
in it,
Yeah.
because it happens on my blue dye especially. And I've literally swapped out a batch of blue dye and that hasn't fixed it. But if
Mm.
I run tumbled parts and throw them in, or I run the other mag bases I make, I don't get these spots.
Okay, so the
Yeah,
spots are tied to the Scotch braiding.
either tied to, I think it's an old. It's not that old, the batch. Um, yeah, it's either tied to the Scotch brightening or it's tied to the material itself. I haven't tried to just
Okay.
run tumbled, because the machines come off the parts come off the machine. They go into the tumbler. They just take break any internal sharp edges, and then
Right.
they get racked, and then from there they get Scotch brighted just before they get anodized, just to give a
Mm.
uniform finish from when I had the Slow-EO where everything had chatter marks everywhere.
Yeah.
Now the Scotch Brite, it used to take like a minute or two on each one. Now it's like 20 seconds. Just literally rub the face so that it looks uniform.
Yeah. That's
So
actually
I,
the exact same
yeah,
thing I've been doing with these clips now. Same thing. Like I had to put so much finishing in it when they were coming off the little Curt
yeah,
CNC mill, but now that they're coming off the X5, it's like, oh, now my finishing is like 30 seconds as opposed to
yeah.
like 6 minutes. It's just a
No,
huge time save.
especially the AR-15 mag bases that I make. Geez, those things. So I put a 12 millimeter cutter in the Slow-EO, which not
Mhm.
the best plan in the world, but I'd rough the part out with a long stick out 6 mil, and then I would just take off the last. Hang on, imperializer time, 0.25. There we go. The last 9.8 thou.
JSpecEngineering.com. Buy your own, huh? I was
The
just
last
saying,
yeah.
buy your own imperializer. Start
The
selling
last
them.
10th hour, I'll get the boards ordered, and then I'll send one to you, and I'll send that pallet system over. I also
Nice.
ran into a problem with that this week. So yeah, the last 10th hour, I used to just clean up, do 2 passes around, but the end mill used to chatter because it was on a wet noodle. Now I rough
Right.
the thing out. I come in, I get a really good. I could tumble it and anodize it, and the black
Hmm.
anodize actually comes out better if you do that. I've
Nice.
noticed the Scotch brighting actually makes the black anodize a bit lighter in color.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
Like batch to batch, like anodizing is so finicky. I do
Yeah.
it because I do it. Not my favorite thing in the world,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's one of those processes that I do in house because I don't want 100 scrap parts coming in from the anodizers.
One thing
Because in
I would
my
try, and I,
yeah,
I don't know if it'll apply to you or not, but I find so I use RO water for like most of my cleaning, but my
yeah,
last clean is always done in distilled water. I did like a TDS measure of both
yeah,
my RO water and my distilled, and they're both like 0 or like 1 part per million.
yeah,
But for some reason, RO water will still leave like
water
slight
spoils.
watermarks, but
Okay.
distilled won't. So
So
maybe
I
that.
was buying distilled, and I was getting 12 TDS.
Okay,
My
it's still pretty
RO, I
low
get
though.
0 out of my RO.
Oh,
So
okay.
I switched over
Okay.
to entirely RO because I was spending a fortune buying bloody water. So
Yeah, distilled isn't cheap. Yeah.
when I did the bolt belt Kickstarter,
Mhm.
some of the money from that went to upgrading the anno setup, putting bigger tanks, putting an RO system in, all those little things to just make anodizing pleasant. And
Right.
yeah, I mean, I've done thousands of parts at this point. But again, all my
Hmm.
anodize is just cosmetic. Like there's no guaranteed thicknesses, any of that cuck. It's literally just a cosmetic anodize that I do to things.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Like even the knives, there's knives that are overseas now. Like I was doing a 2-tone, and that took a little bit of figuring out. Turns out you shouldn't use clear spray paint to mask things because you can't see it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Fair.
Turns out my orange and black is mostly orange because I couldn't see where I was masking. So I ended up switching it up to white spray paint. So I could, because
Okay.
what you do is you anodize you acid, then you come out of the acid, you go into your first dye, pull it out of there, dry it with a hairdryer so that there's no water left on it.
Right.
Spray paint where you want the orange or whatever the light color is to stay.
Right.
Then you heat gun that to cure it into the caustic soda. Basically, bleach the part back again. So anything that isn't covered by the paint will get bleached off. then rinse it. You shake it off in the acid again, just no power, just in the acid. Rinse it again, and then into your dark color. And then when it's done, you soak it in acetone, and it's you get your two tones, and it works pretty well. It's just labor intensive.
Totally.
One of the things on the docket for this year is new racking. I just need to sit and actually design it. I've got someone who will throw sheets of titanium on their laser for me and actually chop it up for me.
Yeah, that's one thing I'd like to do better too, is racking for my anodizing, because like right now the titanium is weird too, because if you have like, I mean, I'm assuming the same with aluminum, like if your part volume changes, everything changes. Like the speed at which you hit your color changes, the voltage can vary, like everything changes a little bit in my world anyways.
No, in titanium it does. In Ali, I've got a spreadsheet I made. Don't know where I got the numbers, but they work. Apparently they're not correct, but it works, so we don't argue with it.
That's all that matters.
I've got a list of all the parts that I do regularly, and if I'm doing a new part in Fusion, I'll just go get the surface area. I plug that into my spreadsheet. It tells me how many amps I need, and then that's a pretty good ruler to go by. Like I run some stuff that requires 15 amps. I've only got 5, but I did a test part, similar size, measured the layer thickness, and then I could compensate for it when I machined it, because those I had to hold a pretty tight tolerance on. But most of the stuff goes in and out of anode. I don't care about tolerance on it. Like what the anodizer is going to do to it makes no difference. But there are a lot of factors that change aluminium anodizing. Temperature, whether you stir the die or not, that took me a while to learn. Your die needs to be at the right temperature. You need to stir it ahead of time. Like there's all these little things. And then the red especially, was anodizing. It was like a dull maroon color. Put it in the laser to laser mark it, and it would go bright red because it got hot while it was being lasered. And then the color would change. Really weird stuff. Like the most absurd things would happen.
Yeah.
The racking. So I was chatting to a guy further south than me, somewhere down in the sticks, and he was setting up an anode setup, and he couldn't get it right. And eventually I asked him, what are you racking your parts with? He's like, oh no, stainless steel wire. I'm like, there's your problem.
Oh yeah.
You can have lead, aluminium, titanium. That's it. Those are your options that you can have in your anode tank with your parts. Nothing else. And as soon as he switched to aluminium racking wire, problem went away.
Yeah.
No. So I want to design. So like my racking is beginning to fail badly now. I guillotined a whole lot of it at a friend's shop, and then I was TIG welding racks together and cutting it with tin snips. So I want to send off to laser or design a whole sheet, get it laser cut some armor for my robots while I'm at it. Like I was chatting to my mate, he's got a friend who runs a laser shop. So I was like, can I bring my material and will you put it on your laser? Because a lot of guys aren't really interested in that.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, you can get from Send at least if you want to make titanium racking.
Oh, yeah, I know that's my, exactly. All my parts are round too, so it's easy just to lathe my own rack.
Yeah, I was lazy when I went to the US. I should have ordered racking like a month ahead of time, and then I could have got it delivered to AJ and brought it home. But I only thought about it like 2 days before leaving.
Yeah,
and then that wasn't gonna fly.
Yeah,
because getting titanium here is a bit of a challenge.
I bet that'd be difficult or more difficult.
Yeah, the knife shops do it. Like all the knife making suppliers, they all sell bits of titanium. But like my knives, I was making them out of 4mm titanium. The knife is 4mm thick because the next size up I could buy was like 8mm, and then the price just goes through the roof.
Yeah.
So I ended up just going with grade 2 4mm, but then I had to stand and sand through the mill scale or through the mill finish. Not my idea of fun.
It's the same. That's the same reason I oversize all my titanium. Is just like the tubes. Like, I know loads of people that build pens at size, like they'll order whatever 3/8 tube and make their pen. That's like you never get super clean surfaces. Like you're better to turn it perfect. That way you're get through the scale and it looks pretty. But I think titanium is, as far as I understand, that's driven by aerospace. So like basically the only thing that's on the market for us, small companies, is just like surplus from aerospace. So if you're close to aerospace, you get easy access to titanium.
And medical,
for the
round stuff, especially. But no, there's a couple shops around here, like knife making in Joburg is quite big. We also apparently have a reputation for making pretty smooth knives in South Africa.
Oh,
Yeah, like we have a reputation around the world for making really good quality knives.
oh,
My
sick.
neighbor
Okay.
across the road makes knives. Yeah, I have a knife that I haven't glued the scales on for like 3 years, sitting on my desk. I traded a guy a belt for a knife. He was like, "No, you'll finish it." I'm like, "No, no, send it to me. Just sharpen it. Send it to me. I will put my own scales on it because I want to do that part of it." And then
That's
I
cool.
never got around to it. Like it's still sitting there. Like, I was like, "Don't worry, I've got Kydex. I'll make a sheath and I'll put the scales on." And it's
Mm.
sitting on my desk. It's not the highest priority in the world, so it doesn't get attention.
All right. So, churning through our topics, what problems
Yes,
did you solve last week? What lessons did you learn?
I learned that I need a hydraulic power pack. So I've got at the
Oh
moment
yeah.
for my crimping thing, I've got a pneumatic foot pedal hydraulic pump thing. So you push down, it goes brrr, makes hydraulic pressure. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but it's slow. And my compressor
Mm.
doesn't really enjoy the experience. So I'm going to go visit one of my friends out in Knights, actually behind where I used to work. He buys up old machines and they got a whole lot of stuff kicking around. I'm going to go see if I can pick up a gear pump from him. And then I've got a motor kicking around. I'm going to build a 2.2 kilowatt hydraulic power pack that runs my crimping thing. So I can literally put the
Mm.
tube in, crimp it, index, crimp, and I can turn them out a little bit faster. Not that I need to do it faster. I just am trying to optimize the process. Like my goal is every time we do it, it needs to be better.
Mm-hmm. That's a good
Like it
goal.
just,
Yeah.
yeah, everything needs to be better every time we do it. And yeah, the FlexiLube coolant seems to be working. Tomorrow, I need to order more so I can change out my other two machines because the coolant in the LK is looking a bit on the brown side. It's not
Mm.
smelling or anything, but I'm not happy. It needs to go out of the machine. It's a year old, so it can get out of my machine now and go somewhere else.
Yeah, I saw that in your because yeah, you swapped the new coolant to Bertha, right?
Yeah, I swapped Bertha out, and then yeah, that was less than a pleasant experience. Like an inch of solid whey oil on the top of not solid, slimy whey oil on top of the coolant because I didn't have a skimmer on there. Yeah, it was disgusting. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, that switched over to FlexiLube and yeah, thoroughly enjoying that coolant. It smells
Nice.
nice. They claim it has a detergent in it, so it doesn't leave a residue. It actually cleans your machine, and my machine is the cleanest it's ever been. Like even cleaner
Yeah, I
than when
thought
I got it. It's like,
I was surprised it was clear. I was like, "Oh, clear."
yeah,
Usually I only see that on like what are not solubles, but like whatever hybrids are. Like that synergy ads everyone
yeah,
wants to run and I'm like, "Oh, I've heard nothing but terrible things about it." But
yeah, as well. I've only heard bad stories about it, and it's also apparently very expensive.
yeah,
This
yeah, I
stuff
got
is
quoted for it. Yeah.
it's one of the more expensive coolants that FlexiLube do. I was actually chatting to another customer about it, and they tried it. They didn't see a marked increase in like life or anything, so they went back to the cheaper one. But I run a lot of brass, and this is specifically
Mm.
made to not have a bad effect with yellow metals.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
like
Yep.
it's not going to go green in my lathe
Yep.
because I don't want that. Yeah,
Yeah. No,
what
I
did you
agree.
solve? Well, you solved green. What else did you solve
Yeah.
this week?
Solved green. Solved probably just a lot of kind of boring back end stuff, but to sales, like the lottery system I use, like I have a script that basically auto pulls names off a large selection of people that sign up for the lottery, and then it parses it into an email, so I can mass send out passwords to
Yeah,
people. So I did a bunch of back end work on that just to try to streamline that a little bit. Because like it was easy when you're doing like when you only have to sort through whatever, let's say a few hundred names, it gets easy. But like as soon as the numbers
yeah,
get to like thousands and you're doing things like over and over, you're like, oh, this is the most like robots are built to do this kind of work. So uh,
exactly.
yeah, just did a bunch of that stuff and like parsing it better so that when orders come in, like I use shipping software that can just like take all the addresses and be like, oh, these are all worldwide shipping, these are all US, these are all Canadians, and put the right carriers to everything. Just dumb stuff that I
Okay.
should have set up forever ago and just kind of slowly piecing my way through it. So
Yeah,
that's
stuff that wasn't necessarily a problem until now.
yeah, exactly. Stuff that just slowly grows to become a pain till it's a point where
Yeah,
you're like, oh, I got to do something about this because every time I'm doing that, it's just taken away from something else I could do. And it's like, this is dumb work. Like, this is work that a robot can easily do.
yeah, no, exactly. And now you're gonna look at it and be like, damn, I should have done this earlier.
Oh, that's
Because
always how it works, right? Like,
that is
you know,
exactly how it works. You want to kick yourself because you should have done it a
mhm.
lot earlier. Yeah.
Well, even like cutting all the fixtures for the Sile to like switch the parts over so I could put like soft jaws and whatnot for this. Like it took
Yeah.
me one soft jaw. It took me 3 hours to like design, machine, get in the machine, update the code so it would run on that, and then run the parts. So it took me three
Yeah.
hours. But then I calculated it saved me 3 hours and 45 minutes on the
Yeah.
entire batch. So I'm like, it literally cost me nothing to stop for almost 4 hours and do that. Like I'm ahead, which is like
No, exactly.
it's insane. And then
Well,
you just reap
I
the benefits
designed,
now.
yeah, onwards. I designed a new fixture today to put the torque splits onto the anchor points pallet system so that I don't have to undo 2 bolts. I can just push the solenoid valve, take the thing out, put it in, release the valve, and hit go.
Nice.
And I'm not doing 10, I'm doing 18 at a time now. So putting the
Nice.
quantity up just a little bit and making it easy to load, that I don't have to pull my vices off the machine to run production. Unfortunately, it won't be used on this 500 parts. It'll be on the next 500 because I've got to order material and actually make the things. But I think I can do dodgy things and not have to put the parts in the lathe because it's got a bit of an undercut. But I've got a 32 diameter by 4 T-slot cutter that I'm going to drop down next to the parts and just chop the material out that way. It's
Nice.
the easiest way to do it. Like, yeah, I try to do things efficiently.
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, cool. Let's do the calls to action quickly. So yeah, you guys can check out my website. We've got a few products on there, including the FrameLock utility knife. That's at jspeceng.com. Links are in the descriptions.
And mine is confoundedmachine.com. Like I said, I have a batch coming out this Wednesday. So if you'd like to try your hand at the first come, first serve, or actually if you sign up on my site, I think under the lottery page, you can sign up for either pen that you like. And then I send out passwords to people. So if you get lucky, that's one way to get them, or then just wait for the first come, first serve sale. Because whatever lottery things aren't claimed, I put up on my site, and it's just whoever gets there first, the sale goes out. So yeah, they tend to go quick. But yeah, that's my world.
Yeah, you're in the fortunate position where you put things for sale and they sell.
It's the best. It's so nice.
Yeah, no, that's a very fortunate position to be in,
it's
but
probably
also doesn't happen overnight.
No, and I think it's probably because I'm underpriced from what I'm offering is kind of what I assume. Because as they said, like if you're selling out instantly, your product is valued more than you're charging for it. So I'm like,
yeah,
I don't mind being in that position right now. It's way better than being in the other side.
Oh no, definitely. I mean, yeah, I'm sitting with a couple. I think I'm sitting with nearly 100 knives in the UK at the moment.
Okay.
That I need to move at some point, but also they're not costing me anything to sit there. Like when they sell, they sell. I don't like. I used to push Instagram ads. Turns out you can't use the word knife if you want. Yeah, I learned all the words you can't use. Like I used to use the abbreviations. I used to use FLUC. And then you couldn't use the word blade. And like, there's a whole bunch of words you can't use. It will not approve your advert if you're using those words.
Oh, well, I know.
But yeah,
I love social media, but there's some things that are like, this is silly.
Yeah. No, exactly. Like there's some really dumb stuff that happens there. But I've stopped doing that. I was actually listening to the Gimbal Automation podcast. I really should look up what that is called because I keep just calling it that. And they were chatting about how much they spend on ad revenue every month. It is an exorbitant amount of money. Like,
really?
Obviously, it's driving sales. Oh no, it's like I think he was saying it was like $20,000.
Whoa! I mean, I guess it scales, but still, yeah,
scales. But yeah, it's like wow. But that's also he's trying to drive sales, trying to get it in front of people. Because if you don't know it exists, then you're not going to sell it. Like that's the thing. Yeah, it's the thing we run into with the robots. Guys, this is so cool. We didn't even know it existed, and no one's going to join a thing if they don't know, or buy a thing if they don't know it exists.
No, totally.
And that's So you can either do it the social media way, which I think is the way you went about it with the YouTube channel and whatnot.
Yeah,
but that also
that's a grind.
That's not free. Yeah, that's not free.
No, not at all.
As AJ put it with. When he got his Tormach, he did a video addressing the fact that he has a free Tormach. And he's like, if someone posted a comment to the effect of, oh, don't you think it's unfair that you got a free machine and now other guys running a job shop have to compete against you? He's like, this machine wasn't free. I grind to put out the YouTube videos. It's not an easy thing, especially with the production value that is required these days. it's
Yep.
not an easy feat to put a good YouTube video that's going to do well. Like,
Yep.
and yeah, people take it for granted. Like even my neighbor, he's like, "No, post it on YouTube. You'll get rich." I'm like, "No, you won't, bro. You can post the
Mm-hmm.
thing on YouTube. No one's going to watch it. You're going to get 3 views. And that's going to be
Mm-hmm.
your mom, your wife, and you. That's it.
Yep.
Like, it's
Yeah, no.
a grind. Like, I don't. Yeah,
Oh, and
people I don't think appreciate it.
I got lucky like way back in the day, like when I was saying, we talked about it posting on
Yeah.
Instructables. Like I posted a video of my concrete lathe project, and like that got me a crap ton of views. Like I
Yeah.
made it to the front page of Hackaday. Like I got all kinds, and that helped a ton. And then just like
Yeah.
you get a few of those, and that's the only way I developed like a big enough audience where I can
Well,
not
that's
pay for
exactly it.
ads.
I mean,
But
I've
you got
got
to either get lucky or grind.
yeah,
One of the two.
I've got a couple videos on my YouTube channel from back in the day, flight test. I was very active on the flight test forum and the flight test website. I've got a couple
Okay.
videos that hit like 5,000 or 6,000 views, reviewing cameras, reviewing random stuff. But that I've got 200 subscribers on YouTube. I've got thousands
Right.
of views, but there's no subscriptions. And that
Yeah.
even I was looking the other day at the series I did on building the Slowio. That's got like 100 views here, 100 views there. It's not high trafficked. I think one of the highest viewed things was my Tumblr that I built. Like that's got quite well. That was also very cleverly named. Since this is meant to be PG, I won't call it out here. Although speaking of Tumblrs, I am building a new Tumblr.
Oh,
Because
nice.
I bought a vibrating motor off of a concrete vibrator or something. Things like it's only 200 watts, but it's huge. So I'm gonna hook it up to a VFD and actually turn it on. I was working on the design tonight. I actually think I sent it off this evening to get a quote for laser cutting. I'm gonna make the tub out of stainless, and then all the other laser cut bits and bobs, and then my mate can just weld it together for me instead of having him plasma cut everything and fabricate it.
Nice.
So yeah, building a bigger Tumblr, but now I'm trying to source media. So I'm going to message some guys tomorrow locally. Their website makes me not want to live in South Africa. They've got a not horrible South African website, but you can't buy online. It's contact us. And then I think I've emailed them and I didn't get a response. So I'm going to WhatsApp them tomorrow because they said, don't try phone us, just WhatsApp us. Our phone lines are broken. So I'll WhatsApp them tomorrow and harass them about buying tumbling media. Because I'm making tumbling media, but it's going to take me another week or two doing a couple batches every day. And it's like, I'd rather just buy it if I can.
Well, that's what people don't understand too. It's not like buying whatever, paper clips. Like media is heavy. So when you're shipping it around the world, like it gets spendy fast.
Well, I was looking on
even ship
AliExpress.
it.
Yeah, I know you can. I was looking at AliExpress. They do 1 pound bags. You can buy a maximum of 5 bags.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And then the shipping was about $50 and the media was like 10.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not horrible.
Yeah,
but
the problem is you got to do again and again and again and again.
Yeah.
So I was looking, there's a place in Cape Town that I've bought media from before. It's just I need to get smaller media and I need to get bigger media because right now my media fits exactly in the parts I've got to run this week. It gets jammed.
That sucks.
Like, it's really infuriating. I've got my old media. I might actually just try my old media. It's just my old media takes a lot longer to tumble out these parts. So I'll mess around with it this week. But yeah, their stuff is it's about $12 a kg, and I think I'm going to need like 20 of them. So it's going to get spendy pretty quickly. But I'll see. I'll chat to them and see if they'll do a bulk deal for me. It's a random 600 grits green plastic pyramids that the size varies every time you order it, which is a little annoying. So it's for jewelry stuff. It's a jewelry supply place, but it's the only place I could find to buy it online because South Africa online market's not really that big.
Right. Yeah. Different world.
Yeah, the tooling guys. There's a couple that have popped up that you can order. Like I broke my 10mm rougher for roughing steel. I broke that last week, and it's one from these guys, Midway Tools. I'm like, cool. Went on their website, loaded a new finisher, a new rougher, a corner radiusing tool for a job that comes around every now and again. That VCGT and I ordered pull studs for the pallet systems because I don't want to order 100 from China. Although ordering 6 cost me a fifth of what ordering 100 would have cost me. I just, didn't want to order 100 yet. So I ordered 6 for the 5 samples and for my pallets I need this week. And yeah, that got back to me this evening because you send a RFQ and then he sends you a quote, you make payments, and he ships it out the next day. So like he's pretty quick on it. There's also there's Taurus tooling as well. I've got from them. Like there's a bunch of guys available, but a lot of the stuff is still distributors and tooling reps and stuff like that, which is a bit annoying to deal with. I also think I'm going to risk it with Chinese roughers.
Oh, yeah?
So I need to do a tooling order from China because I only have one spare slitting saw of both of the ones I use commonly, which is a little risky.
Yeah.
So I want to order another 3. So I was looking through their website, like there's a bunch of stuff, just like odds and ends I need to get from them. I get my carbide center drills from there, and I get what else? I get inserts for Bertha and for the MCO from there, like little 2mm, the angled parting ones. That's the only place I can seem to get them. Can't get them locally. And then the roughing tool I was running was a $120-ish roughing tool. I want to order 2, so I have spares. I can get 3 roughing tools, my slitting saws, all the stuff I need for less than I was going to pay for the 2 roughing tools.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
Nah, it's just got to wait 2 weeks. So that's the route I've chosen to go. Worst case, I take the 3 roughers, break them quickly, or throw them in the bin and buy from the expensive guys again. But I'm willing to roll the dice. I'm only cutting aluminium with them.
Yeah, exactly. And you said it's a rougher, so you can have a nice finishing tool come in and just
even
see
there,
what
I
happens.
use their finishing tools, and their finishing tools work really well. Like I have no problems with their tooling, and cost effective. Even with shipping being $50, it's still cost effective.
Yeah,
because the shipping's a bit brutal.
I'm lucky that I got a Canadian like DeBoer tooling. Like I love their tooling. I use it for everything.
Oh yeah.
And my local vendor carries it, so I could just drive across town and be like,
that's nice.
give them a call, be like, I want all this. They're like, yeah, it'll be in here in 3 days, and just go and pick it all up. So
okay,
and it's decent quality. It's not heinously expensive, and
YG1 were meant to visit me this week as well, and they didn't. I'll harass the guy and see when he's coming past to drop off catalogs. I don't know where they got my details, but I don't mind. Free catalogs. Convince him to give me free inserts to see if they work. What they don't realize is I'll make 3,000 parts on their test insert.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And then I'll buy 1 insert, please. Because that's one thing with the having to buy a pack of 10 inserts is a bit annoying when you use 1 a month.
Totally.
Yeah, like a lot of the online guys locally, even my normal tooling guys, they'll sell you 1 insert, which is convenient. Like now I ordered the VCGT or VCMT holder, comes with a steel insert, and then I ordered a single VCGT. That way, if the process doesn't work, I'm out like $80. What's that? $4 for 1 insert. I'm not out like $40 for a pack of inserts.
No, totally. Yeah.
Yeah, those things add up very, very quickly in the small shop.
Just start making everything out of titanium and stainless, and you'll never have that problem. Just burn through inserts.
Yeah, no, I burn through inserts when I run 303 as it is.
Yeah, that stuff sucks. Yeah.
303 is not bad. You pretend it's steel and you just go full send, but like 316 is horrid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try not to do that. But yeah, the poor MCO is going to run steel tomorrow. It's going to be great. And I bought an 8mm hex collet, and the 8mm hex bar doesn't fit in it.
Oh no.
It's a little bit oversized, so it doesn't fit the collets. I use a 10mm collet.
I said, can you do the trick of just like putting O-rings? Or sorry, what kind? Like, is it a 5C collet or?
Yeah, 5C.
Okay, can you just jam O-rings in the slots? Like that's what I do with.
I jammed a screwdriver in it, and it still wouldn't open up.
Oh no! Okay.
Yeah, I bought it for this job. Like when I ordered my original set of collets for the MCO, I ordered an 8mm hex for this job, and it doesn't work. So I put it in. It turns out a 8mm hex, the nominal across the tips is like 9.8. So I just run in a 10mm collet. I'm literally parting. I'm parting it off to length, putting a chamfer and parting it off to length. So good enough. Yeah. I also discovered that the guys I normally buy my collets for Bertha from now stock 5C. They never stocked them before.
Oh, convenient.
So I was having to order from China, and then I wasn't going to order 1 collet and pay. I think they were like $150 shipping. So then you make a list and you make it a $250 order because the collets are $4 each. So you just load up your order, but now I can get them locally, so it's not too big of a deal, and they're pretty cheap. I think they $15 a collet.
That's pretty cheap.
Yeah, and if it's got runouts for what I do, I don't mind because most of the stuff I do, I turn the OD. So if there's runouts, there isn't when I'm done.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's the way I like to do things. Did we? I'm trying to remember if we discussed the tool and die work that the guy wanted me to do again.
I think you were just saying last time that you turned it away because you find it a hassle.
Yes. Yeah, it's a ball ache. I don't want to do it. I straight up told him, nope. No, I told him, go somewhere else. I told him straight, go somewhere else. Like, here's what I charged you last time. Go see if you can get it for that price. I'm not interested. Like, I don't want your money. Your money is not worth the years of my life I'm going to lose to stress because that job was so stressful. So that's now gone away. He still came and dropped off a bunch of other work for me this week. Like, he was a bit angry with me, but I don't really care. He came here, I'm like, you're running too lean. Policy is this is price, that is door. Pick one. Like, you can't be doing all these little stupid jobs that end up just wasting your day away. Like, you need to say no at some point, or you're going to put yourself out of business.
Absolutely.
Like now, this job, he's got to remake half the job on his own dime because the customer rejected it 6 months later. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Now you're saying now his new policy on any tool, any press tooling he makes, it's 50% up front. He'll come there, put it in your machine, run it, take it out your machine and take it with you until you paid in full. Because if you leave it there, the guys will run it, crash it, and then until you know we're not paying you until it's fixed.
Yeah.
So he's like, nope. It comes out and goes home with him. I'm like, no, you have to.
Seems kind of fair.
No, he's gotten burnt like so many times with that stuff. Where guys will go and they'll run the wrong gauge material or do something stupid, crack the tool, and then he must rebuild the tool. Or they're not going to pay him. I'm like, no, dude, you need to fix what you're doing here.
No, totally, yeah.
Oh,
fire customers.
What's happening with your fourth axis?
That's a fun story. So everything is wired in. Everything is ready to go. I powered it up because I got the okay. They checked all my wiring. They checked everything. Like, connections are not difficult. It's all like Ethernet cables, like nothing. But it's not
those S700 drives are really nice.
Yeah, they're beautiful. And like, so I powered it up and I got an alarm basically saying topology error. Like, it doesn't recognize it's kind of like a computer networking to multiple computers. That's how these drives work, from what I understand anyways. So it knows the drive is there. It just doesn't know how to communicate with it. And unfortunately, the fix for it is kind of scary. It's like a factory machine reset. And if you make any mistake, you can kind of like brick the machine. So my distributor was basically like, this is the steps. Don't do it yet. He's like, I want to confirm that all the steps work on my end. He's like, and then when I have a procedure that I know is perfect, I'll give it to you. You can follow that. He's like, because obviously that could be a potential problem. So I don't need it for the next probably a couple weeks yet. And honestly, I could do the next few months of production without the fourth running. So it's not critical. I would like it to work, but I would much rather have the machine functioning. So it's kind of right now I'm reading a bunch about like Siemens just drive commissioning, just kind of for my own knowledge. It can't be that difficult. So.
No, it's not. We used to use those exact drives. We used to use the S700s on the machines we used to build, and then we used to communicate to them over Profibus, and then they would communicate into drive with EtherCAT or whatever their Ethernet protocol is that they're using. Mm-hmm. And we used to get all sorts of fun stuff with those, but we didn't have the little memory card thing that goes in it, unlocks the performance, like synchronous motion things. We never had that because we didn't need it. I know we tried to use it once and then we're told, no, you need to have this really expensive upgrade. But those drives are like bulletproof. They really, mine's got the same. Mine's got the same big one multi-drive, which terrifies me.
Cymatics or whatever they are.
That's there. I think it's the S700 module. But I mean, we used to stack those things like a meter wide. You just keep slapping modules onto them. Like you'd slap on 3 or 4 drives, then another power module, then 3 or 4 more drives. And like we'd have a stack up on those things. And they work really, really well. But they're very smart. Like I remember having topology errors where we would add a drive and then you could do nothing until that was resolved.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
someone would flick a breaker on one of the external drives, and then all of a sudden the thing's having a shit fit because the drive isn't there.
Yeah, no, totally. And that's kind of why I wanted a little bit of baseline knowledge on it. Not so much for just fixing this issue, but I'm like, if it ever happens in the future, I want to know, like, this is roughly how I have to fix it before I, have to go through the channels to fix it with, the
with
people.
the agents.
But that's a problem with having a machine that's essentially built overseas, is like you're communicating. I mean, the customer service has been quite good, but it has been fantastic either. So it's like,
yeah, that's customer service in general. I mean, even WD, and they're down in Cape Town. The guy was meant to come past this week. I haven't heard from him. I'll harass him next week and say, hey, what happened? You were visiting me. I've been trying to get you to visit me for a year. But also I'm not paying for the visit. So kind of not.
Well, and, I mean, in their defense, like Sile did contact me. They said, hey, we'll refund you like $10,000 for your fourth axis option because it's not working. And I'm like, please don't, like, keep my money, because then I feel like you're going to work on the issue if you know you're somewhat indebted to me. So I'm like, I appreciate the offer, but keep the cash. I want it working more than I want the cash back.
Yeah,
so,
and I'm sure once it's working, it's going to work well. It's just
absolutely
to that point.
Yeah, exactly. So,
but I think the Siemens switch there has been a little bit hilly for them. Like I think they've had some issues, because it's by far a better controller than the Syntec or the LNC.
Oh, I'm so happy. Like, they quoted me on the Syntec controller, and then they said, we can only get Siemens into Canada. That's the only thing that's approved is Siemens. So I was like, bonus. Like, I'm totally pumped to have a Siemens control.
Yeah, I actually saw an old Syntec this week. These guys, I don't know if I mentioned to you that they had a Lynx, Doosan Lynx, that a rat's got into the wiring or something. And they had this other mill. Yeah, they had this other milling machine. It's got a Syntec controller, but it's half apart. And the guy's like, why is it half apart? The encoders are off of the back of the drives.
Oh, no.
I'm like, why? That's potentially a huge issue. I know the Siemens motors, you take that encoder off the back, you throw the motor away, because the encoder is clocked to the windings in the factory.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's pre-configured and clocked to the windings, and if you take it off and put it back on, it's not exactly clocked. And since you've got some absurd number of lines per revolution, like even just the play in the bolts is enough for it to not work anymore. We had an encoder, someone hit a shaft with a hammer and cracked the glass in the encoder. And we had an old motor, so we'll just swap it. And the Siemens guys like, don't even waste your time. No, it's not going to work. I think we had blown a motor's windings. I don't know. There was some shenanigans going on. And they're like, no, that's set in the factory. It's not a thing you can just do.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean,
that kind of makes sense, because I was looking at the topology report on the machine, and it did have the encoder output. And I was expecting like your standard, like, 2,000 position encoder, 4,000 position encoder. And I look at it, I'm like, oh, that's a lot of numbers. It's like into the hundreds of thousands. I was like, that is so much more precise than I thought.
Yeah. It's more than that, because it's, hang on, where's my, oh no, geez, I can't even.
I remember seeing 6 digits.
Yeah.
And I'd be like,
no,
wow,
they're insane. No, they're absolutely insane.
It's like no wonder.
Yeah. It's either 17-bit or 23-bit encoders, and it's a stupid number of bits.
That's nuts. That's incredible.
Yeah. It's absolutely insane, the level of accuracy these machines theoretically can achieve.
Well, when you consider that has to be a physical read, like, I mean, physical is a loose term, but like that is essentially a disc with holes in it. You can think of it, it's down to the electronic term, but it's like, it's still something that's physically made, which is bonkers.
It's insane. It's absolutely insane when you look at and the quantity of these things that they churn out as well. Like the mind boggles at how they do it. Like, so I was trolling AliExpress this afternoon, and I found a servo drive to put on my lathe spindle on Bertha. Mm-hmm. 1.8 kilowatt servo drive for $300 delivered.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
That's for free. Like, I know. I'm considering it, but I'm also like, Bertha's working. Why poke it with a stick if it's working? Like, what I have works. I mean, I can always roll back to what I have, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Don't do what I did to my wife's car. It wasn't broke, so I fixed it till it was.
Oh, that's proper, yeah.
Yeah. No, it was overheating, so I made it overheat worse.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, skills. Like, that's why you pay a mechanic. But yeah. Oh, we're coming up on the hour and a half mark. What are you up to
Yep.
today?
Today, I'm going to finish my Sunday, play with my little rats. And
Nice.
then tomorrow, Monday, I am going to feverishly finish all the finishing on pens and then just start boxing stuff up and get ready to
Okay.
get out of here so that I can quickly pack them up, take them all to the various drop-off places, and move along with the next batch. Because, yeah, this one's been kind of dragging on and causing
Well,
me...
it is the biggest batch you've ever done.
Absolutely. And like when I
Yeah.
sell it, it's
So,
going to, it's lovely. It pays for multiple months of
yeah.
work, which is killer, but it's just the point before it. You're just like,
It's getting to that. Like, yeah, we've got a customer
yeah.
in 30 days, and I'm worried next month they're going to place a nice big order, and then it's like, okay, cool. We're now in the hole until they pay because we're doing it mostly on our own dime until they pay.
Oh, in the last few months, I've been like, I spent just a crap. Like like more money than I would have thought I'd ever spend in like, just because I'm outfitting this big machine. And then for Christmas, I was worried about, we had a big postal strike. So I just bought a crap ton of material and a crap ton of tooling and just blew a bunch of money that way. Then a month before that, I bought a big manual lathe, straight cash, and then the machine. And then I put a huge deposit on that. And then like the forklifts and just like, spending money like crazy and selling nothing. So just like burning through cash. So yeah, I'm kind of excited to stop that.
Yeah, to recoup that a bit.
You bet. Yeah. How about you? No. What's your week looking like?
Hopefully I get material tomorrow. And then tomorrow I've got order material to machine 200 little alley parts out of 70-75. That'll hopefully be in by Wednesday. And then it turns out I can actually probably run that job in like one whole day. I think it's 13-ish minutes to run 2 parts. So I can burn through the 100 big parts in a day if I work late. And then the little parts I run off 20 parts every hour, so 5 hours, and I've got 100 of those done. And then it's just tumbling and shipping. So I burn through those quickly, and then got the torque splits hopefully on tomorrow. Hopefully material arrives, and then before that I'm making the Afrikaans side hinges. It's a stupid job that I keep doing and I shouldn't. Some little hinges for some woodworking project or something. The guy orders like 20 of them 2 or 3 times a year, and it's annoying to do. It's not hard to do. It's just annoying. And then, just pottering around and I need to get that wire chopper done. It's now running somewhat reliably, but the servo overheats about 7 or 8 meters of wire in because...
That giant servo still overheats? Or did you drop down size?
It's a little... on the wire chopper, it's a little 400-watt servo with a 4-to-1 gearbox. This thing's sitting at like 4,000 RPM continuously. It hates
okay.
Yeah.
So okay, that makes sense.
So I kind of need to scrounge up some money to buy just a 12 Newton meter stepper to run it and just run that thing at 1,000 RPM and just let it and chop wire. But I've got that running somewhat reliably. It's cutting a millimeter shorter than it should, but the customer said that's fine. So if it runs, it runs. Like I just want that project finished now. And then busy cleaning the workshop up a bit to try and make it a bit more pleasant to be in there.
Yeah, that always helps.
Oh, yes. And then I ran into an issue with the anchor points, but I think we'll leave that for next week once I have actually resolved the problem.
Cool. Well, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, it should be interesting. It'll leave us a topic for next week. All right, guys. I think we're going to call it there. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Please give us a thumbs up or a 5-star review on Spotify and a thumbs up on YouTube. Feel free to share it with anyone you think will enjoy our ramblings. And have a good one. We will see you guys next week.
Yeah, and if you have things that you want to mention to the show, like hit up either of our... We don't have a show channel or anything, but hit up either of our Instagrams or emails and let us know. I know a ton of people from the last episode kind of let me know what's what. So I'm eager to hear your feedback.
Sweet. Have a good one, guys.
Take care.